My life has always been great. Well, mostly. Let me explain. It all began when I was 16 years of age. My family and I moved into an old house in Georgia. We had moved from North Carolina due to my father's job needing him to be the company's office in the state of Georgia. It wasn't much of a deal at first. I hadn't ever been social with others, which caused me to have little if any friends growing up. My sister took it much harder than I did. She was supposed to be doing so much at school. She was very popular and had a very abundant amount of friends. She complained throughout the whole process from when it was announced 2 weeks after we'd moved in. My mother adored the home that we were moving into. It was big and fit perfectly to her taste. I'm not a big person on liking the appearance of homes and whatnot, but I admit the house didn't seem that bad. The home was a very old home that had been updated slightly. It was a white 2-story colonial with blue shutters and roofing. It even had a small balcony that connected to my parents' room. My sister and I were in separate rooms on either side of our parents. The inside of the home was very bright. That's the best I can say. When my mother got a hold of the place, she did her best to light up the home. The stairs were in the very center of the home and led up to a hallway which led to 4 rooms, the 3 bedrooms and the upstairs bathroom. There were also stairs that led to a cellar, a room that we all avoided for a while for an unseen reason. There wasn't anything off-putting or strange about the place when we first moved there. I mean, sure, there were noises such as creaking and other various sounds, but it was to be expected with a house of its age. It seemed like the perfect home for a family of our size and was very comfortable. Life in Georgia wasn't that much different than it had been in North Carolina. I went to school with my sister while my parents both worked at their jobs. It all went by smoothly for the first month. About exactly a month after we'd moved in, the noises began to get louder and accompanied by other strange occurrences. Windows and doors seemed to open and close by themselves, along with objects being rearranged. My parents didn't believe my sister or I when we experienced these things after school. They just dismissed it as us finally acting out about moving. This didn't make sense as I loved it here. I was finally making friends and my sister's popularity had sparked here too. Life was going good for us. There was just something going on in this house. Things only got worse. The noises became more frequent and soon. Things such as vases and glasses broke. One night, I was awake in my bed deep into a show that I was watching on TV. I began to hear bits and pieces of a conversation. The voices sounded as if they were right out the window. This would place them on the balcony outside my parents' bedroom. My room was made out to where I could turn around and look outside the window from my bed. I reached out and moved the blinds to allow just enough room to see the balcony. Don't go. Don't go to the cellar. That was the last I heard as the conversation ended. There was no sign of anyone out there in the darkness and it was all quiet. This caused me to rush out of my room into my parents. I explained the whole event to them. They only would say that I was either tired or had fallen asleep. That was no dream, and I most definitely am not tired. To say the least, I didn't sleep much that night. Things were mostly quiet and seemingly normal for a while after that night. I was actually getting sleep and felt like I was living in a normal house for once. There wasn't any strange occurrences happening when I got home or anything like that. For the first time, I invited 4 of my friends to stay the night one weekend. My friends arrived home that Friday as things were still quiet in the home. We messed around most of the day with things like games and watching TV. That night, we spent most of it by telling ghost stories. My friends told pretty frightening tales, but when it got to me, I didn't know what to say. Not wanting to disappoint them, I began to explain what had been going on previously in the home. The 4 were fascinated yet, obviously terrified of what could be in that house with us. Being boys, they started with dares of me going to the cellar. Nobody had been down there at all. In fact, No one could, as the door that led to it was stuck. My father had given up on trying to get it open, and we all just went on without it. This turned out to be a good thing. Even though we knew the door was stuck, we went to try anyway. Every one of us tried to open the door, but to no avail. It wouldn't budge. At least the door didn't open. It was just one of us messing with it. Together, we all acted as a battering ram and threw ourselves into the door. Our combined force caused the door to fly open. A dreadful smell assaulted us as soon as the door hit the wall. A dark abyss welcomed us with a terrible odor. I reached in and ran my hand against the wall looking for a light switch, only to find one that didn't work. My friends remained at the door as I went to get a flashlight. When I returned, we all exchanged who we thought should go in. After a minute of the suggestions, I gave the idea of us all going in. As a group, we all decided this to be the best option, and this is what we did. Stepping out into the darkness to find the stairs that led down into the cellar. The smell only got worse as he went further in. It was an unknown smell to us all. It almost smelled like a mixture of the spray of a skunk and a rotten egg, but much, much worse. We looked around as I shined the flashlight out into the room. The source of the stench was the most horrifying thing that we'd ever laid eyes on. In the room there were human remains. The cellar seemed to be a room for where a previous occupant prepared this food. The remains were all mutilated and instruments of the evil act laid everywhere, all drenched with blood. A body hung from a chain, parts of its form missing, and in their place were broken bones. We were frozen in the room. We couldn't move due to the surprise. Though shortly after, we did. As I turned the flashlight to another part of the room, we found another person to be there. He stood tall and turned to us. Pieces of his skin were non-existent. His face was partially missing, and some of his fingers were gone. His eye focused on us as he opened his mouth to speak. "Leave!" His voice a growl that sent shivers down our spines and caused the adrenaline to kick into overdrive. We did as he said, and ran out of the room, the door slamming behind us. To finish the tale off, we didn't ever return to the cellar. No one has in years. The tale behind what had happened in that place was never explained to us. My family moved far from that home, and I hear that no one has ever lived in the home since. I'll never forget what we found in that cellar.